Honey, everyone. This is Sharon for Self Care You Nugget. And so remember to like and share. Remember to turn on your notification so that you will know what time, or should I say when, I will come on because you never know what time. Because one of the reasons that I do not have a set time for these Self Care You Nuggets, previously conscious sharing moments, previously conscious sharing moments is because when life unfolds, we never know when and what time. And so the more we can move forward in life and enjoying the what is as things unfold, the more that we can be in joy and even, shall I say, in the chaos. And so let's move on. So today's self care you nugget maybe a little longer than usual. We'll see. And so, what I want to talk about going to the moon and back. I hear people say this a lot, and especially for individuals who have children, and of course, we'll say this for our loved ones. I would do anything, and you've heard me. I've talked about this before, but I'm just like so much more passionate about it. It's like it's my mission, and you've heard me over the years, self care, the four pillars of self-care. You've seen my transformation, and you've probably also seen my setback. You may not have noticed, but sometimes, I even fall off the wagon, and it's not even just about falling off the wagon. It's where the wagon is just tugging you anyway while you're on it. And so going to the moon and back, what does that mean to you when when something happens to your loved one and you're advocating and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to the moon and back? What does that mean to you? What does that mean for you? I mean, really just think about it, because anytime that I've felt that way and anytime that I've heard other people say it, it means that they would do anything for their loved one. But is that really true? And all of this is, this is self care. Everything doesn't always comes back to us. So is it really true that you will go to the moon and back? That you're willing to do any and everything? Is it really true? And with the discussion today, even though some of the, I'm going to preface it with, even though some of the things that I say, because I'm not going to get into certain things, because I am fully aware that it's not just that easy. But also, I must say, we live in a duality that both are true. And so many things that I've experienced myself, that I've seen others experience, and in conversations, and just seeing people to overcome. We live in a duality. It's kind of like it's not just my world. It's like despite of what happens in my world, despite of what happens in your world, the world still goes on. Even like through the pandemic, yeah, certain things may have come to a halt. However, certain things continue as well. you know and so, in saying that, and you're like, Sharon, why do you talk about self-care so much? What does that mean? I don't have time for that. I'm going to the moon and back for my children, for my family, for my loved ones. But what are you going to the moon and back for? Are you going to the moon and back for your health? Are you going to the moon and back for to build a financial legacy? And I'm saying all of it because I've been there too. And there's certain things that we may think we're going to the moon and back, but you're actually hurting yourself. Because when it comes to your health, I'm going to say this: anything that is repeated, anything that is repetitive, is going to have an impact on you, on your mind, on your body, in your spirit, and your soul. And then the thing is, even if it's subconscious, unconscious. And so We know that when it comes to high blood pressure, when it comes to um, diabetes, it's definitely high, and especially among blacks. And then on top of that, on top of that, just by being black, it's not by just by being black, okay? But it's because of racism has an additional layer of stress on us. So that's what I mean by just by being black. However, that is also the reason why, of course, all of us, but especially as blacks, that we need to do more when it comes to our health. Because we cannot be playing around nowhere when it comes to our health. And let me tell you guys this, it is not hard. A lot of it is our mindset. And then what are we doing? It's our habits that it's our mindset and our habits that are keeping us prisoners. I tell you. Because I tell you, when stress comes to me, my default is to freeze and sometimes to fawn and somewhere in between. And then sometimes by the time that I realize what has been happening, it's like 2 lifetimes ago, just meaning certain things. Time really passes. It's like, oh, I'm trying to catch up with time. So I don't want the same to happen to you. Now, some of you guys are really sitting on gold. And I'm telling you guys this, and I'm telling myself this as well, to remind myself. And this is why I get on here, so that I can remind you all what you can be doing and how helpful it is. But it's not enough. It's the doing, it's to make a change. Do not wait, do not wait, do not wait. Do not wait until something happens. And so going back to high blood pressure, to diabetes, to heart disease, to what's the other one? High cholesterol. I mean, there are certain things that you can do. And don't buy into, I'm going to say this, do not buy into, oh, it's hereditary. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is, despite anything being hereditary, there are still things you can do. You may just have to do it harder. Because I tell you, when it comes to a high cholesterol, that is something that I have dealt with throughout my life. For the most part, I've had it. I've been able to manage it. But what I will say, it takes extra work. But is it worth it? I mean, just think about that. Is it worth putting the effort to keep it balanced? Meaning, for me, it's mostly food. Even though I really didn't understand it, it was like, how does the same food can have my good cholesterol really good and my bad cholesterol bad, but then they would tell me, oh, well, since your good cholesterol is good, that balances out. No, don't believe that either. Don't believe that either. I used to believe that. But I did take the extra steps and then I slide back. It's like, oh, got to keep it up. Because just think about it. Just think about what happens to the arteries over time when it's not good. And it's pretty much, you might as well say, if that's the case, that means they're fighting each other. I don't want my body, I don't want nothing inside my body to be fighting each other. And so, in saying all of that, to say, even though it may seem like it's extra work, it's extra effort to maintain health. But what about the other side of that? Having a heart attack, having a stroke. And even though a lot of people, recovery, they may return back to normal, that or it may be a new normal for them. And some unfortunately end up transitioning. But when it comes to what happens after that, it impacts your family. Your health Your health impacts your family. Pretty much, we live in a society, and what I've come to realize, we have really accepted that as you get older, all of these things happen. Each person is different, but in that, are you willing to do what you can to prevent that? If you're going to the moon and back, hold on now. If you're going to the moon and back for your kids, you say you would do anything. So can you go and eat something healthy? And even if it's a mindset, can you watch a video? Can you watch a video, a YouTube video, listen to a podcast, hire a life coach, a mindset coach? Go see someone, particularly because there's different things that you can do. And one thing that I do tell people, have a diverse learning. It's not just the way that you learn, meaning learn from different people, because there's different ways of doing things, and then you take the best of it and combine it. Because sometimes you can be learning from one person, and even though they can be fantastic, but someone else has something over there that is fantastic as well. So you don't want to limit yourself. And there's too many people who have overcome and reversed so many things. I can remember when I was in college, I can't remember if I was working on my bachelor or my master's. But pretty much it was one of those classes. It might have been statistics, but let's just say it was something to do with research. And pretty much, we were talking about, like the studies, and we were talking about, the radical remission, and I think it was my bachelor degree. But pretty much back then, because this was like, oh my, years and years ago now, a couple of decades ago now, in that they put it off as saying, oh, it was just in their mind. You know how, where they do the studies and, they give one person or a group of people the sugar pill, and then they give another group of people, the actual pill, or, whatever it may be, in that. And they pretty much, and I will say, I'm going to say this too, at that particular time they just didn't have the understanding of it, of how they have it now, so they didn't know what to do with the information. I'm going to put it like that. But it shows you the power of the mind, because at least the way that I interpret it is that, oh, they're saying, oh yeah, again, because we say this now, if you think something is true, it's true. If you think something is not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So if someone has the power to believe and really feel that this thing, and it's like this water, it's going to make a change for them, and it does, we got to investigate that more. And what they call alternative treatment, who says it's alternative? It was here first. Medical stuff came along the way. And again, I'm all about including it all. You decide what's best for you, because there's benefits for both sometimes. There are benefits for both. And so in saying that, what are you putting in place? What are you doing so that your health, so that you can truly go to the moon and back for your loved ones? Or, again, like I said, this society, we have accepted the fact that, oh yeah, when you get older, you have aches and pains, and you if someone works because of the stress on the job, end up having to take medical leave, and it's so heroic. And I'm not taking that away. I'm not taking that away, because Lord knows, my mom, I mean, that happened to my mom. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking that away at all. This is a system issue. But what I'm saying is, what are the things that we can do so we can have a good quality of life? Because the other side of it, because what ends up happening, I've seen it. Then I had to make sure that, and not saying that it didn't impact me. I'm not saying that at all, even with things in place. But what ends up happening is our loved one, either get sick or have an injury, let's say work-related injury, have a heart attack or stroke. And again, remember, with heart attack and stroke, they are not things that just happens. It's in the making over a period of time. It's almost like if you put too much of anything, like I have this cup water. If I put too much water in here, it will overflow. Now, this is a different type of overflow. So just meaning that if you continue to do something, it's going to explode or implode. And so what I'm saying is that let's have the best quality of life. Let's put our loved ones in a better position. Not all about the diamonds. All of that is nice. Now, yeah, you can exchange it for money, but then what are you going to do with the money? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing to expand it, to make it grow? Or is it a just now? Because again, it's going to be the next month. It's going to be the next month. It's going to be the next month when it comes to something else. And so when it comes to your health, there are so many different things that you can do. And like I said, I know it's our habits and it's our nervous system. This is why self-care is so important. I talked the other day about, our ACEs, and my podcast is coming out as well. And remember, with Self Care You podcast, it drops every Thursday, around about, at least say, most of the time by 9. So definitely go to Spotify and listen to that, and also YouTube as well. And so, because the thing is, it's all about having information and investigating and being curious. If we can believe that multiple pills can make us better, remember the side effects that comes to that, how come we can't believe that different types of food can make us better too? I mean, it comes from the earth. We believe in, for those of you who believe in God, the universe is divine, have put these things in place. These things were in place before any type of pill. And so again, what are the things that you were doing to have a good quality of life? Because I'm here to tell you, and I've worked in mental health for several years. And so in saying that, it's part of the medical field. It's just a specialty. When it comes to quality of life, insurance don't pay for that. They would tell you, like, even though people may need the services and can benefit from the services, but insurance don't pay for that. So how do you set yourself up so that you and your personal resources, your assets, can benefit your family? And then again, it's all about you thinking in a different way. Because one thing I can say is, even though I felt like that I've done well in life, I've been able to bless others, and and I've always loved, being positive and just teaching and educating. And I'm just doing it now more so that the world can hear and can see. But I've also learned through personal experience, when not being intentional, what it can do to you as well. Do not put it off anymore, because what you do today can be a lifesaver for yourself, especially for your loved ones. And I've talked before about making sure you have things in place. So again, what are the things that you're doing with your health? It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing God's work. I'm a vessel. But how are you taking care of that vessel? How are you taking care of the vessel? What are you ingesting? Are in your surroundings? Because even with me, I come to realize, like, oh my, even though I have wonderful friends and I love them, but again, when we're talking about not just bigger dreams, I would say a bigger life, so that I can have more impact, so that I can influence others more. When I say that, just meaning to be able to learn, to be able to do, to be able to see all these wonderful things that life has to offer. Because when you are not intentional about you, believe me, life was like, And even though, and don't get me wrong, sometimes, you know how we like to say, it is what it is. But my whole point is, let's learn how to integrate it in between. And so, especially if you are a person of authority, meaning a parent, a teacher, a supervisor, a manager, CEO of a company, CEO, you're a business owner, especially when you oversee numbers of individuals. Take care of yourself. I remember when I was in college, actually happened to me twice. Happened to me twice. But I was working on my master's. And, when you're in school, it's busy, busy. It's all books. I was going to school part time, but it's still busy. I was working part time and going to school part time. And I can't remember how many semester hours it was, but I was working on my master's. So you just know, I might have was taking 9 credit hours, but that's a lot, for part time. Still a lot. But as soon as Christmas break came, I mean, it was almost like Christmas break was today. I don't know if it happened that evening, but definitely the next day, I was so sick. I think I had the flu. If I didn't have the flu, definitely some type of upper respiratory something. But I was really sick. I was sick, sick, sick. I was like, couldn't enjoy Christmas or anything. I was really sick. I couldn't go around my family because I was so sick. But that was, I looked at it, and it was kind of like I needed that rest. You see what I'm saying? So life has a way to make sure you get what you need, but it's not in the way that we want. It's almost like, if you are thinking about, like, if you're in a job and you're like, this job is too much, I'm not sure if this job is for me, you're going to get, you will get some messages to say. You get some taps, you get some whispers. But if you do not make a change yourself, life just has a way of doing it. And it doesn't do it in a always wonderful way. But it shows you is to bet on yourself again, so that you can go to the moon and back. And so, taking care of yourself, again, people say, oh, I don't have time. It's the habits, it's our mindset. What's the bigger picture? Do you want to enjoy, seeing your loved one, if you have grandkids graduate, and not just see, but to be able to really enjoy without being in, at least not so much pain, you know? And there's different things, of course, sometimes you can have an injury, and that can cause, severe pain. So I'm not talking about all of that, but pretty much what I'm saying is the things that you have control of. So, the four pillars of self-care is that self-awareness and then that movement and action. So what are the things that you're doing? And again, when I'm saying, I'm talking about myself too. And then just on a daily basis, when it comes to stress, stress is the number one killer. So I remember even in being in mental health early on, I don't think I really completely understood initially like what stress was. It was almost like this, it was almost like I viewed it like when something happens. It is, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? But now I describe it more so as this because we know what energy is. And so it's kind of like sometimes there is a um, invisible barrier that can be pushing against you. I kind of call it like stresses, fender benders, and accidents. Again, we all know what the accidents are, but with those fender benders, you're like, oh, did something hit me? You know, one way to describe it just by you, oh, we see it every day. To be honest, for those of you who watch the news, I just see the headlines. And again, I stopped watching the news because I realized the stress that it caused me. I'm here yelling at the TV when it comes to certain things or when I hear. You can be in the know, but you don't have to watch it all because it impacts you. You know what I mean? And so, just in saying that, just think about 9/11. Think about the pandemic. Think about um, George Floyd. Think about just all of the different things, or just by hearing, even if you didn't see it, just by hearing about certain things, pay attention to your body. And what we really have not been taught is that what do we do with these sensations? And most of the time we end up running away, going away from it. And it depends. You know what I'm saying? If you're watching something you don't want to watch, you can turn off the TV. But, that invisible entity it got attached to it because once you feel it, it's there, but you have the power to release it. And so there are different things that you can do. You can breathe. You can take a deep breath and just breathe out. Or you can, do it in 5. You can do box breathing or fire breathing. Because sometimes you may need to breathe to slow things down, and sometimes you may need to energize yourself up. So, what self care acts or practices are you integrated into your day? Not just at work, but at home, not just at home, but at work, but not just in those. What about you in the community? I can remember at one time I had witnessed, I would say some characteristics of domestic violence, pretty much yelling and screaming and things like that. And I was like, okay, do I need to, like call 911? There wasn't any physical altercations or assault or anything. But when I think about it, yes, that impact me. You know what I'm saying? Just by witnessing. And, you may have heard some people talk about, oh, I need to ground myself. I need to center myself. Yes, we do. And especially at work. And especially if you're dealing, pretty much no matter what job you have, you're dealing with customer service. It's just that of who the customer or the client is, it may differ because sometimes the employee is the client or it's the customer. You think about that, right? And so, in saying all of that, it's about in order to go to the moon and back, is to invest in yourself, is to be curious about yourself, is to do those things. Because if we don't, what are the repercussions of that? Do we really want that for our family? If there's, we're saying, I would do anything. I would do anything. Some people say they would sell their souls to the devil. Okay, if you're going to sell your soul to the devil, what are you doing? So sell your soul to drinking more water. I don't have it here. Let's see, do I see it? Oh, yes, I do. Sell your soul to reading books. That's one of my favorite books to read. Prosperity, Prayers, and Affirmations by Shanti Brooks. It's like, what are you reading? And it's not enough to read, it's to do. And I'm saying that, I'm talking to myself too. Because I'm a consumer of information, most definitely, and love sharing it. And I do things, but to do more. And the other thing is, in the work environment, if you're working in a fast pace, if you're a supervisor, do you allow your employees to take 2-minute breaks? I can remember when I worked somewhere, and the place where I work, they pretty much have been health conscious. And you would think they should be, right? And they had implemented expanded their wellness work-life program, and they were encouraging the employees, all of us, to take a break and walk. But I remember another supervisor was like, why are they out of their desk? Why are they doing that? And don't get me wrong, especially if you're in a environment where there are inbound interaction, meaning that people are calling you. And when I say that, this was years and years ago. It wasn't a call center. I just want to point that out. But my whole point is saying that if you're a supervisor, it depends on how you look at certain things, that impacts what you will support, what kind of support that you would give your employees, those that you are over, those that you oversee, shall I say. So meaning that if you see walking, you can talk about it. Everybody can go at one time, maybe 2 at a time, then to make sure that there's coverage. But if you do not have your own self-care arena, or if you do it just to lose weight and not to have a healthy lifestyle and mindset and abundance and prosperity in every way, then you can be the barrier to others. Whether you're a parent, whether you are a teacher, whether you're a supervisor or manager, entrepreneur, And that's the other piece I want to come around for business owners, entrepreneurs, definitely supervisor managers, in that one thing that I have seen is what people have come to realize. Initially they're telling themselves, I've got to clock in these hours so that I can get this reward. But at what cost? The cost of your family, to be so understanding, the cost of your health. And that is a big one. That is a real big one. And like I said, this one is a little longer because there's just certain things I just want to really just put upon all of you. You're all doing such a wonderful job and continue to do it. And I praise and I admire individuals who have this self-care down pat and who's been at it for a year, for years and years. I appreciate you being the role model of for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for the community, for the world. And then for others, you may feel that your life is hard or you're just starting out, especially in being a supervisor. I can remember the first time I was a supervisor, that was like the most unpleasant experience I've ever had. And I think it's the thing that made me not want to be a supervisor ever again, even though I did do it again. But one thing I can say is that in that, pretty much I use sleep as my self care. And I sleep good. It can be beneficial, but knowing what I know now, nah, I got to do more than that. Because one thing I can say, it probably separated myself. It kept me together a little bit, but by not being actively and doing something. 'Cause I can't remember at that time was my exercise routine on a regular basis. I just can't remember right now at that particular time because it kind of goes up and down. It's gone up and down. But pretty much what I'm expounding on you is just the importance of you taking care of yourself. And that's get out of this mindset that, oh, or think that it's heroic that you work so hard and or that somebody has worked so hard and now they're not able to do anything for themselves because of that. Let us be the change. And again, I'm not talking, I'm not I definitely honor, because there's no way that I would be where I am without my mom, because she was a hardworking person. She definitely, made sure of the things that we needed, that we got them, you know. And because of her hard work, I'm here today. I'm here to share the love that she had for us, me and my brother. I'm sharing that with you all. This is the love that I have for you guys. You are so beautiful people. But just like me, I needed to take care of myself more so that I can support and be a guidance for others. And it's hard. It is so hard emotionally, and what that does to your body when you're so stressed of having a loved one or see a loved one go down. And that's, especially like when it comes to dementia. Um, there's some things that may be able to slow it down, and for each person is different of the progression of it, you know. And then the research shows some different things too of preventing. And so let's talk about that again. If they say that you can read and do some fun games to prevent dementia, will you do it with that? Ooh, that's what it is. It's redefining going to the moon and back. That's what this is all about. So what, because in the beginning, like I said, what does that mean to you, going to the moon and back? That's just like in being an entrepreneur. And like one of my friends is like, Sharon, you sure? It's a learning curve of what you need to do and the sacrifices that you make. So what are you sacrificing? Because the alternative is that when you're not taking care of yourself, again, like people would say, oh, I'm not paying that much for, let's say to enter into a program, what we consider the alternatives, to get services from someone or offering or to go to a mastermind or a retreat. Oh, I'm not paying that kind of money for that. But then you end up paying it on the back end with your health or even financially. And of course, anything comes to our health. Let's say this, anything comes to our health, we're going to pay for it anyway. Of course, we'll pay for it in whatever condition that our body is, but we'll pay for it financially. So we can pay for it in increments financially, or, you know, financially, the hospital bills or home health. And so you're like, Sharon, why are you talking about all of these things? It's because these are real life things that happen to real life people. And some of it, we can prevent it. It's not just about having a, it's not just about having, um, again, the house and the car. It's like, what type of relationship are you having with yourself? What kind of, no, I'm sorry. Something got my attention. It's like, what's going on here? But what kind of sacrifices are you willing to make? And so we're willing to, it's almost like I even look at myself in that, okay, if I'm willing to do this for my job, how come I'm not willing to do this, like just certain tasks and things? And sometimes the tasks be the same. Sometimes it could be the exact same task with we're not even dropped. Oh, let me get on this phone and call such 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 and see. Da, 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 da. And then when I do it for my for my own business, oh, well, I don't want to disturb nobody. Oh, I don't know. And then, of course, dealing with other things that I didn't know that was there. So that's another reason, again, for the self care. Because there are parts of yourself that you don't even realize that's in the driver's seat. If I did not experience it myself, I mean, even though I've been talking about self care before, I experienced certain things, and then certain things didn't allow me to like create this in the first place. But all I'm saying is continue, continue, continue to do all the wonderful things that you're already doing and to be intentional about you. The other thing I want to point out too is on the back end of when it comes to our health and like how we're going to pay, especially financially. And again, you've heard me say this before. It's kind of like I had an idea what need to be done, but did I investigate it and did I invest? And then there was a part of me too. It's not just the money mindset. It's like, okay, I do this when. Life has no timetable. We need to do it now. And so, in saying that, meaning, we have all this checklist for the health and whether or not people do it. It's like have your annual checkup, have your annual eye checkup, go to the dentist, what every 6 months. But do we check off what about our self care? Like, have you ever gotten a self care checkup, a self care assessment? That's one of the services that I offer as well. A consultation. You can do a discovery call if you're like, oh, well, I don't really know what I need. And you can contact me. It's already up there. Bit.ly, bit.ly/connect with Sharon D. Brown for consultations or discovery call. But if it's like, I know I need to do something, I just can't find the time, or I start and I stop, and you're definitely serious about it, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a business owner, especially if you are a leader. Like I said, you can be a parent, but definitely for those of you who supervise others. Because what ends up happening, people again, 10, 20, sometimes even 30 years later, I wish I would have. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this now. We've all have kind of done that. How about starting it now? So that you can be preaching and educating, encouraging others. Because the more that you role model something, you know how the saying goes, kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. And that's for all of us. It's a action. Again, it's the same thing. It's the same message. Action speaks louder than words. Kids are going by what you do. And again, it's the impact that things have on people too, and that's for another. But in saying all of that, have you ever had a financial consultation? Sometimes I think there's some guilt or shame that comes along with that. No, it's setting yourself up. Let me see where I am. It's about planning. Because I know even when I started my business, it's like, yeah, I know what I want to have in place. And, I'm going to say part of it too, is because, it was new. It's like, yeah, I know I want to make this, but it's kind of, but what actually can I put in place so that I can get there? It's not just about getting the customers. It's what can I put in place to help my money grow and to be, again, I used to think that tax advantages was for 6 and 7 and 8 figure. No, it can be no matter where you are. And it's about planning and discipline. I remember watching something and I can't remember which product it was, but it was some product. I mean, it had something to do with, insurance. And the person, someone in a comment was like, but what if I need my money for an emergency? And the thing is that I know sometimes there are some situations you may not be able to come up with the money. I'm not quite talking about that. I am and I'm not. Because at the same time, I'm talking to myself. But it's kind of like, what can you do? It's kind of like a scarcity mindset. So, what if I need it? But an abundance mindset is, because again, this is discipline. Discipline yourself or not to tap into something that you've had. Now, if it's for that purpose that you may need it, because the thing is, if you're not able to, again, go to the moon and back, to put in an extra effort to work in a different way, to be able to move different, whether it's getting another job, whether it's if you have a business, whether it's a joint venture, whether it's collaborating with others, whether it's giving up a percentage of your company. You see what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like, what are you doing to get to the moon and back? Because sometimes you might just go to the moon, you may not be able to come back. And so, again, I talked a lot about, you know, especially throughout the day, you may need to energize yourself. And so there are different things that you can do to do that. And so I created an ebook, Rest, Rejuvenate, and Recover, where it has pretty much 6 different self-care acts that you can do. You can do this anywhere at any time of day. And so, pretty much, what all of this is that what are you doing to get to the moon and back so that you can live in abundance? What are you doing to get to the moon and back so that you can be healthy? What are you doing to get to the moon and back? Because again, you can get to the moon, but how are you going to get back? Are you doing all the things that you can to figure it out? Or are you just going to lay there and give up? No. So that's what it is when it comes to your health. It's and know that your health, whether it's your physical health, your spiritual health, your financial health, not only it impacts you, it impacts your loved ones. And it's not about people picking up the pieces. Some of it is. That's wonderful. But when you have things in place, and again, sometimes you can be doing all the things, and that's another reason, especially when it comes to the financial piece. And let me say this before I end too. The research shows this as well. And this is one of the reasons, if you or a loved one have ever been in the hospital, like after surgery, that they don't waste any time of like getting you up and encouraging you to do things. And the reason for that is, and let me say this first, in that, in that, especially for individuals who have a regular exercise, a regular, I'm saying exercise, that too, but a regular healthy lifestyle and routine, in that for those individuals, they recover faster. And because you have already had that experience, you're more likely to do it. Ooh, I'm going to give you a good example. Um, I can remember I worked for a community mental health center. It was in a day program, and individuals with what's considered to be, a chronic and severe mental illness. One of the things that I noticed is that for the individuals, and like when it comes to a mental illness, especially like schizophrenia, bipolar, schizoaffective disorder, a lot of individuals have those type of diagnoses and experience those type of experiences and episodes, and there's different ages. The average onset is like in the early 20s. It can be earlier. It can be, someone can be a teenager, and it can be later in life as well. But the average age is, I would say in the early 20s. And what I noticed was that because the day program was set up to help individuals to pretty much return back to the community. It was an outpatient program, but they were in like um, certain what was it called, living arrangements and things like that. So the goal of it was to allow them to be, I'm going to say, as independent as possible, meaning that even if they were in a housing program under supervision, but they were still independent, to at least allow them to be that there where they weren't in like a group home or in this particular place, it was a community care home. Different states might have different names, and in some states and some cities may not have that service at all. Um, and so, what I had noticed was that individuals who had a who had worked, who had a job, was going to work, and or who had a family, like they had their own kids and had a life, and unfortunately, this illness had come upon them. And especially, we're talking about years ago, the way that the mental health system was kind of set up. Where people were in asylums, and then they had the big discharge um, of individuals in the mental health institutions. But in saying that, that kind of goes back to, like if you have a injury or even a heart attack or stroke, where, of course, each person is different. There's so many layers to it. But just saying, when you have a regular, healthy lifestyle, that helps you return back to your normal, where it may not have to be a new normal, maybe temporarily new normal, but you can almost go back to, like if you were playing tennis, if you were running, if you, were working. And again, each person is different. Of course, nothing is 100% because somebody's like, oh, I know somebody, and sometimes, unfortunately, too, just some people can have a medical condition that you may not that they didn't even know that they had, and so that can trigger that. But in saying all of that, to say that when we have experienced something, that is that thing that we continue to seek. And even by me saying that, wow, that's something even positive or negative. So if it's negative or not good for us, we definitely got to rewire and change our mindset. And so in saying all of that, to say continue to be healthy. Definitely go and make sure that you go ahead and grab the um the online course so that you can have your one-on-one with me and doing different exercises and self-care apps and integrate them. You may need to breathe, do box breathing. You may need to do fire breath in order to like regain energy. You may need to just move and dance. And, we talk about the importance of all of that and give you some guidelines of that. You may need to, especially if you're really tense about something, may need to do some muscle relaxation, and how you may need to do movement and not just in the dancing piece of it. And so again, there's so many um there's so many, sorry about that. There's so many different things that you can do to be well, and that is determined by you. You can do it. And it's really, the more that we do something, the easier it is. So it's really not hard. The hardest part, as they say, is to get started. So go ahead and grab the Rest, Rejuvenate, and Recover online course so that you can get started and center yourself throughout the day so you can be well in every way. So thank you, thank you, thank you.